you're going to go on a training course. And we said, where's that? And he said, oh, you'll find out soon enough when you get there. And he gave us some papers with instructions to travel to Swindon Station, report to the RTO, and tell me we wanted to go to Highworth, where we would report to the post office. So when we arrived at Swindon, we said to the sergeant, we've got to get to Highworth. Oh yes, he said, I'll fix that. And there were a couple of other chaps there too. And they gave us transport to Highworth and dropped us outside the post office. We went into the post office and saw the postmistress, Mavis Stranks, who to a 19-year-old was a grey elderly woman in those days, and showed her our papers. She said, oh, you're one of that lot, are you? Hang on a minute. And she went to the back of the post office and obviously made a telephone call, came out and said, oh, somebody will be round for you in about 15 minutes. A 1,500-weight truck, I think it was, with seats in the back, pulled up outside, and we got in and drove off. Now, I think the route they took to Coleshill House must have been very roundabout, because when I went there after the war, it was very far from Highworth, but it took us quite a while to get there. And of course, with the anti-invasion precautions, there were no signposts, so we ended up in what I now know to be Coleshill, without having a clue where we were. We drove in the back gate of the house. We only had a fleeting glimpse of this Palladian mansion in the background as we pulled round past the clock house into the stable yard. When we got out in the stable yard, a chap in uniform came up to us and said, I'll show you where you're going to bunk, and then you can come down and have a cup of tea. We went in through the centre door up to the first floor, where, as I recall, there was a long room, and it had trestle tables down the middle and bunks down either side. So we put our kit down and got sorted and went down and had a cup of tea. About 1800 hours, they gave us a meal, and about 7 o'clock we started with an introductory lecture on what was going to happen during the weekend. The initial lecture was a briefing on what would be expected of auxiliary units if an invasion came place. The targets were prioritised: accessory railway lines, ammunition dumps, petrol dumps. The stress being placed on material rather than troops. They said troops could be replaced. It's not so easy to replace gallons of petrol. The officer who gave it, I can't recall who he was very good, very enthusiastic, and made you feel that you were really part of something and this was going to be a big thing if it happened. The next morning, we started off with explosives, as I remember. Some TNT, gelignite, and plastic explosive. It was explained how to build up a charge, how to prime it, how to use a little bit of plastic to accelerate the explosion of gelignite. We went on to the use of the switches we were given. A switch is a booby trap which will fire the fuse and then the charge. We had time pencils which would give you a known delay. Pull switches which were set up with tripwire or something like that, so that anybody pulling it would detonate it. We had push switches. These were for blowing up railway lines, firing pin, held back by a brittle pin, and then a stud which you put in on top of it, and the vibration of the train going over it would depress the stud, crack the pin, and set the charge. We were also told how to improvise booby traps, taking a Mills grenade, pulling the pin out when it was inside a cocoa tin, and then setting up a trip so that the trip would pull the Mills bomb out of the cocoa tin, the lever would fly, and the Mills bomb would go off. We were also introduced to the sticky bomb, a round glass sphere full of nitroglycerine covered by a sock with some sort of sticky material on it, which you were supposed to rush up and dab on the side of a tank. We were taught the basics of self-defence. We were taught the fighting knife, the Fairbairn fighting knife, how to use the Fairbairn fighting knife, and how to silence a sentry with a garrote or rubber truncheon. Then we were given instruction on what they call woodcraft, which was how to move around in a wood quietly at night, the best way of making use of cover, to move along a hedge in a crouch so that you keep your head looking forward and seeing what's in front of you, rather than the ostrich position with your bottom in the air and your head down where you couldn't see anything going. We were also instructed in hiding yourself in the wood camouflage, and the big instruction was if you're in the wood and you hear anybody approaching, stay absolutely still, don't move, and they'll pass you by, quite likely, without even seeing you. And this was demonstrated on the night exercises when you walked past somebody, you knew they were there but you didn't see them. After this basic training, we had a night exercise. They had in the compound a number of army vehicles and so on, and we were given a plan, general plan of the area around Coleshill House, and then in pairs taken out in a 1500 weight, dropped off and given a general direction. I suppose we were about 3 miles away, and we had to make our way back to the Coleshill House and write a chalk mark on there was a Brent gun carrier and one of the other vehicles to show that we'd come back and been there. When we were at Coleshill, the training was very, very well organised. The instructors knew their stuff, knew how to put it over. They told you, they made you do it, they told you again, and really drove it home, because there was an awful lot covered in a very short time. When the weekend training was over, we were taken by transport to Swindon Station to return home. Obviously, we were full of it. We managed to take some notes, and the object then was to go through the whole patrol and work through what we'd done. No, I think the biggest thing that came from Coleshill was the comradeship, the knowing that you could rely on the bloke next door to you to the last, and the self-confidence it gave you. I didn't know where Coleshill was or what the name of it was until the 1994 reunion when I went there. The secrecy of getting you there, it was just a house somewhere in the Swindon area.